Thank you very much, and thanks very much for having me here today. I must say it's very humbling to be talking in front of you. I'm used to being one of the crowd, and there's, as I look around the room, a lot of faces that I feel like I should be listening to them talk to me instead of the other way around. So, but I'm very happy to be here to talk about Cattle Council. Cattle Council's just about to enter a new period in its existence, we hope, and there's some very exciting initiatives that we're introducing, and we think Cattle Council is going to be very well placed in the next 5 to 10 years to take the industry forward. So thanks very much for making sure beef was on the menu. It's a very important part of the step, so I appreciate that as well. So they're the three things that you already know that I'm here to talk about today. Cattle Council is a peak council for the red meat industry, and we're prescribed in legislation. And there's just a picture of our President Andrew Ogilvie and the present Minister for Agriculture, who might not be much longer, who knows. So this is a very quick diagram about how the cattle industry works, and we give this to all the producers when we talk to them. And it's just to give you a bit of an idea of our role in the industry and the other organisations in this industry. If we showed every organisation individually, it becomes what they call the spaghetti diagram, but I'd just like to show you two very quickly in blocks. So Cattle Council is part of this big blue block here, which is the peak councils, and I'm sorry if you can't read it, this doesn't usually show that well on slides, but the state farming organisations and producers feed into the peak councils, and everything below this line here is what we term in the industry as advocacy, in terms of what we're allowed to undertake. We feed into the National Farmers Federation. We're a member of that organisation. So we deal with national issues at the peak council level and the federation level, and the state farming organisations deal with state legislation and state issues. And we feed into the federal government, they feed into the state government. But we also have a strong relationship, and this is why we're prescribed in legislation, with what we call our service providers, and they undertake all of the service delivery for our industry. And that's mainly Meat and Livestock Australia, but also Animal Health Australia and the National Residue Survey, and the other service providers for the other sectors like LiveCorp and the Meat Processing Company. So they undertake the marketing and R&D for our company. So it's very important that these organisations work very closely together, but the service providers are never allowed to step into this advocacy role, generally because they receive a cattle transaction levy. So just going back to the first topic of discussion, opportunities for the North. There are 4 points I really wanted to make today, and recently there's been some media about Indonesia perhaps changing their policy around the importation protocols for both the livestock and meat, and whilst we're still working through the details of the announcement, which we've sort of been seeing coming through over the course of the last few days, at least I think that there are some positive signs in Indonesia now that we're going to be seeing a step towards a more open market. Market access is important for the entire beef industry, but when it comes to the northern sector, access to Indonesia is vital to their profitability, and we've invested a great deal of beef producers' levies money and time and effort of MLA in opening that market, and there's John Ackerman up there is doing a great job of really facilitating some excellent strategies in that market that are starting to pay dividends now. The silver lining of the Indonesian issue is that for the northern sector we've now got a bit of a wider focus on some of the other markets in that region, and I think having all your eggs in one basket is always a dangerous strategy. So Malaysia, Vietnam are starting to emerge as other markets that are starting to take some cattle from the north, and especially they're taking that heavier cattle that the Indonesians won't take. So that has been a silver lining if you can try and look for one in what has been quite a significant issue. I think the industry needs to get more behind the efforts of AACO and other companies to develop northern processing in that sector. I mean, when you walk around the industry and you talk to people, there's a lot of comments like, we've tried it before, it's not going to work, but we need more markets, we need more processing capacity in this country, especially for those animals. As China grows, and we get other foreign investment coming through, there will be an opportunity for those northern cattle to provide a safe and clean product into China, and that they'll be able to eat very easily, and it will suit the masses in China very well, and could be a good alternative for what is going to be an interesting time for Australia getting into the Asian sort of century, as they call it. So pasture-fed cattle assurance is an exciting initiative that Cattle Council has been working on for over 5 years. It's an initiative that's come from Central Queensland AgForce branch and gone through the process of developing policy all the way through to Cattle Council. And Cattle Council and MLA have been working on this to try and get this right for the industry for some time. Basically, it's an on-farm assurance system that enables producers to make claims about how their cattle have been raised. And it's great to see that Tees have got behind the program. They're going to use it to underpin their Grasslands brand. And they've actually offered a 20-cent premium above MSA for cattle meeting their grid. So that's extraordinarily exciting for us, that they see the value we see in a high-quality grass-fed product. So we've developed this program in consultation with a great deal of industry stakeholders, and that's why it's taken over 5 years to develop, because we wanted to make sure that this is a program that can be used both domestically and internationally, and is able to be verified as meeting the United States grass-fed standards. So USDA process verified is the term. Now, what that means is basically that a processor in Australia can put that USDA stamp on their product, sell it in America as being the same as meeting the standards in America, and they can get the premiums that we're seeing in America for this type of product, which are extraordinary and growing every day. And everything that our market people from MLA are telling us in America is that doesn't look like it's ever going to end. Australia can do a great grass-fed product, and America's excellent at putting a grain-fed product into their market, but they can't do a grass-fed product like we can. So what are we actually saying about this product? That they've had access to grazed open pastures for their entire life. They've not been confined for the purposes of intensive feeding. They've never been handled. They've been handled consistently with MSA requirements. So they don't have to grade MSA, but they need to be eligible to grade MSA when they're presented for sale. They've been never been treated with HGPs and never been treated with antibiotics. And of course, you need to be able to claim that for their entire life. Now, that standard, HGPs and antibiotics, they're optional standards that people can choose to add onto their systems if they wish. Tees have said that their premium's only on offer for the product, including HGPs and antibiotics. So they're obviously seeing that that's where the value is in the grass-fed products. So strong demand, as we said, both domestically and internationally, and you know, we think that we've called it pasture-fed cattle assurance system so that processors can take that system and underpin their brand. So one might want to do a free-range brand, the next one might like to do a HGP-free brand, the other one just saying it's a grass-fed brand, and this system can underpin all of those products, and they can take whatever brand they like to the market. The difficulty with our system is it's not like Angus or 100-day grain-fed. You're actually verifying a negative. It's very difficult to prove that you haven't done something as opposed to proving that you have. So it's taken a long time to get the standards to an auditable point that producers can actually manage on farm in a costly and cost-effective manner. So there are logos, and they're able to be used by producers on their farm gate, on their letterhead, if you're certified in the program. What we didn't expect is to see these logos have actually created a bit of interest in food service in Australia, and also on a few brands to go overseas. And it can be used that way. It's not intended to be used that way, as kind of like the heart tick to say, this is a certified product, and so we think that could be even potential money earner for Cattle Council moving forward as people see value in the logo. What does it cost is always an important question. So Cattle Council is administering the program. It's a $200 fee, and then the audit cost is, $400 to $800. It's an annual third-party audit, and that's been the biggest stumbling block for this program, is bringing producers that normally haven't had on-farm systems onto their property and trying to bring them up to an auditable level. So you probably would have noticed recently some media around getting critical mass into this program being our next challenge, and trying to keep those audit costs down as much as we can for producers. So there's a website if you're interested in getting some more information about the program. And that's just a photo of some bloke in Rolleston, being me, with a gentleman who was our first certified producer, and that's where the first certified cattle for the grass-fed system was sold. Unfortunately, a feedlotter bought them, but we'll keep that amongst us. That's